Hi guys! As you can tell from the title of this video, this is a very new video for my channel. I'm actually super nervous right now and I'm low-key freaking out inside. This is something I've wanted to do for a really long time now, and I've been a true crime fan since I was in high school. I used to watch Law & Order, SVU especially, Cold Case Files, Forensic Files, The First 48, Dateline. And I know that sounds really crazy, but I've just been into it for the longest time. And recently I've noticed it's literally all I watch on YouTube as well. I discovered the idea of makeup and crime through, of course, the OG, Bailey Sarian. If you guys don't know who she is, I will link her channel below. She's amazing. But I recently stumbled across another makeup and crime channel. Her name is Danielle Kirsty, and she was honestly the reason why I decided to just go ahead and film this video. I will also link her channel below. She's super talented. But like her, I've been too afraid to just take leaps in my life and do the things that make me truly happy. I want my channel to represent me and who I am and what I'm passionate about. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and for those that don't know, I'm actually a lawyer. And I've always been judged for being a lawyer who wears makeup and likes to be glam. And do you know how many Legally Blonde jokes I've heard? But I decided I'm just gonna go ahead, do what makes me happy, what I'm passionate about, and hopefully that will come across on my channel as well. I will be doing true crime videos here and there, hopefully, but I will still continue posting makeup content as well. So all credit goes to Bailey and Danielle for giving me the confidence to do this. I hope you true crime fans enjoy this series. I hope I do it justice because it's super important to me to be respectful of the cases that I do talk about. And thank you to everyone who supports me on this journey, and welcome to my first true crime and makeup video. So since I'm in Australia, I thought I'd start out with an Australian case that is just crazy. Today we're going to be talking about the tragic case of Tiahleigh Palmer. This case takes place in Queensland, Australia, in a small town called Logan City in the year 2015. So Tiahleigh was 12 years old in 2015, and she was sometimes known as Tia, so I'll refer to her as Tia from now on, respectfully. Now, Tia's mother's name was Cindy, and she actually put Tia into the foster care system when Tia was around 7 years old in 2010, because at the time, Cindy was in a severely abusive relationship, and she believed that Tia would be safer in the foster care system with a family that, would protect her, support her, take care of her. And at the time, it seemed like a better situation than she was in. But soon after she gave up Tia, Cindy went into a downward spiral. She fell into drugs, homelessness, police custody, because she was just so devastated being apart from Tia. I'm a mom and I cannot even imagine being away from my son. Even if I was in a bad situation, just not knowing who he was around, what he was eating, how he was sleeping. It must be so difficult. That's not excusing Cindy's actions, but it's more so we just don't know what people go through on a daily basis and what they struggle with. Now, at this point, Tia was in the system for around 5 years, and in January 2015, Tia began living with a foster family known as the Thorburns, who lived out in Logan City, and they lived on a rural property, which basically means it wasn't like a city lifestyle. They had a large property with horses, and it was more of a country lifestyle, and Tia loved the horses. The Thorburns were well respected within the community, and it seemed like a great home for Tia to grow up in. The Thorburns consisted of Dad, Rick, the mum, Julene, and 2 teenage sons, Trent and Josh. Trent was 18 and Josh was 19. Rick and Julene had been married for 25 years at the time. Julene actually ran a daycare business out of the family home, and Rick used to be a truck driver, but after he had a back injury, he decided to start up an American food truck business with his 2 sons. Now, Cindy had stated that when she found out that Tia was going to be living with 2 teenage boys, that She was straight away like, no, I don't want her living there. And when she actually met Rick, the father, for the first time, the first thing he told her was that he used to be in a gang when he was younger and he used to run drugs and prostitutes. He was super proud of it. Family members of the Thorburns later told police that Rick was super prone to making up stories to impress people. But like, why did he think that story was going to impress Cindy? My young daughter is about to be living with you and your family and you're telling me this? What was going through his head? Now, I'm wondering that if Cindy felt this way, why was Tia still placed with that family? But at the same time, if she was considered unfit, I'm guessing she really didn't have much of a say where Tia was placed. So after Tia had been living with the Thorburns for a while, Cindy states that her behavior completely changed. She never wanted to be left alone with Rick, and she started running away from the Thorburn home. She started dressing differently, wearing padded bras and inappropriate clothes for her age. Rick even took her to get her eyebrows waxed, which Cindy was not happy about. You know, keeping in mind Tia was only 12 years old at the time. I remember being 12 years old and thinking I was so grown. But Tia was already in the system for 5 years at that point, and she had been in and out of multiple homes. And I'm sure that experience forces you to grow up much faster than if you were in a stable home. Okay, so fast forward 9 months. It is now 30th October 2015. It was just a normal day. Rick said he dropped Tia off to school at around 8 a.m. And then on his way home, he decided to stop by a car shop and pick up some spare car parts. Rick's car was actually caught on CCTV camera driving past Tiahleigh's school and then also at the car shop. So it seems legit, right? Then around noon, Tia's school counselor called the Thorburn home to let them know that Tia had never attended any classes that day. Now, Tia had run away from home multiple times before, but she was always found within a few hours, and this time she wasn't. Over the next few days, Rick started posting on Facebook that if any of Tia's friends were hiding Tia, please let us know. She needs to come home. She doesn't like being alone. She's scared of the dark. She has no money. And that they were so worried. Now, police started looking for Tia, but didn't actually inform the public that there was a missing child in the area for a few days. This was later highly criticized by the public. I guess, you know, a foster child that's run away, who's done this before, you know, she'll be back. You know, it's only been a few days. She has no money, no food. She's only 12, but, you know, she'll be back. Stupid. On November 5th, 2015, 6 days since Tia went missing, 2 fishermen found the remains of a body on the banks of the Pimpama River, and this body was so badly decomposed that they couldn't tell if it was male or female. This was probably due to the weather in Australia. So through the months of like November to February, it's really hot over here. The temperatures are usually around 30 degrees, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. But the next day, on November 6th, the body was identified as Tiahleigh's. She didn't have any clothes on apart from underwear, and she was just dumped on the banks of that river like trash. They also couldn't identify the cause of death due to the severe decomposition of the body. On November 7th, a vigil was held for Tiahleigh, and on November 14th, her funeral took place with more than 600 people in attendance. So who do you look at first? Obviously, the family that was supposed to be taking care of her, protecting her, right? Rick was the first to be questioned, as he was the last one who had apparently seen Tiahleigh. And he basically said, nah mate, didn't have anything to do with it. She was happy that day, sprightly. I thought we were going to have a great day. The rest of the family were questioned. They said the same thing. It was a normal day. Rick dropped her off to school. Students and teachers were also questioned at Tia's school, as well as over 300 sex offenders in the area. Like, that's a lot of sex offenders in one area, isn't it? Like, I don't think the city's that big. But it really seemed like the case was just going nowhere. 6 months later, police still had no leads. There was no forensic evidence, no suspects. There didn't seem a motive as to why Tia was murdered. Now, there were many theories that day that, you know, maybe Tia skipped school and then she hitched a ride with a stranger and that subsequently ended in her death. But then in May 2016, Crime Stoppers got an anonymous tip that the night before Tia's disappearance, so the 29th of October 2015, the Thorburns had held a family meeting where Trent, the 18-year-old son, admitted to his parents that he had been sleeping with Tiahleigh. Trent was 18, Tia was 12. Trent allegedly told his mother, Julene, "Mum, I've done something terrible. I've slept with Tia." Julene was apparently shocked and said, "Mate, how could you have done something like that?" And Rick seemed to be the most concerned about Trent facing jail time, and he was adamant that could not happen. But on top of that, Tia allegedly had been complaining about stomach cramps the night before her disappearance, and the family had feared that she was pregnant. The family was also afraid of Rick, as Rick was extremely controlling, and Tia was as well, and perhaps that was the reason for why she kept running away. After this family meeting, Rick told his family to leave the house, go somewhere public that they would be seen, and then the next day, Tia disappeared. What a coinky-dink. Now, when this was exposed, news came out that Rick had also been accused of sexually assaulting children at Julene's daycare. Also, this daycare was allowed to continue operating for 6 months after Tia's disappearance. Okay. Now, there was also a Facebook conversation between Trent and his cousin where he stated that Tia forced him to sleep with her the Monday prior to her death, otherwise she would kill his dog. He states that he had never had sex before and that she forced him, and that now he was worried that she could be pregnant. Now, sir, you may not know how the human body works because Tia went missing on a Friday, and if you slept with her the one time on the Monday prior, she would not have stomach cramps indicating a pregnancy in less than a week. It was later revealed by Tia's grandmother that months prior to her death, Tia declined moving in with her mother Cindy, as she said she had a crush on Trent, and a friend of Tia's later stated that Tia had told her that whenever Rick and Julene would leave the home, Trent would have sex with her. And that she had even told Julene about the abuse, but Julene did nothing about this. So I believe that Trent just took advantage of Tia and the fact that she had a crush on him, and definitely slept with her multiple times, and only when he feared a pregnancy, because he knew what he was doing was illegal, it was then that he had confessed this to his parents. But again, if Tia had really told Julene this, and Julene did nothing about it, it seems like nobody had an issue with it. They were allowing this abuse to continue, and only when they were worried about a pregnancy is when they decided to take action, I guess. So after this news came out, the police bugged the Thorburn home, and they were able to obtain recordings of the family rehearsing their lie. They were discussing how they, have to stick to the story that Tia was dropped off at school on October 30th, and Rick is also heard coaching Trent about his abuse on Tia. Julene and Josh were actually heard having a conversation between themselves, saying that, if they had to come clean, they've got to do it for the sake of themselves and Trent. And whatever decision Rick made, that's on him. So basically dogging him and jumping ship. So using these recordings and the Facebook message, the police were able to prove that the Thorburns were lying the whole time and that they had committed perjury. Using this as leverage, they were able to crack Julene and Josh, and they basically confessed everything. Julene stated that on the night of October 29th, after this family meeting, she asked Rick if Tia was okay, and Rick stated, "It's all taken care of." And she said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Don't worry, don't ask any questions, I've taken care of it." She apparently then leaves the home to go to her sister's home, leaving Rick alone with Tia, a little sus. Later, Josh, the other son, recounted that Rick later told the family that Tia is no longer with us. I hope you know what that means. And Rick didn't have any emotion while saying this. Rick also did not discuss any of the details about what happened to Tia, as he said, the less that the family knows, the better. Now, I don't know if Tia was involved in this family meeting. It doesn't really say. So I don't know if it was just Trent sitting down with his parents and Josh, or if Tia was actually there and, he was telling his parents, I've been abusing Tia and maybe she's pregnant. We really just don't know exactly what happened. So Rick basically made up the whole story about him dropping Tia to school that morning, but he did make sure to drive to her school so that he could be seen on CCTV camera, even though Tia was already probably gone at this point. Later that night, he drove to the Pimpama River, which was over 42 kilometers away, to get rid of her body. He somehow avoided detection by taking a route that didn't involve cameras, and he also left his phone at home too. So This was clearly well thought out and planned because he was adamant that his son Trent was not going to jail and ruin his life. So let me ruin his life another way. Julene, Josh, and Trent maintained that they had no idea what happened to Tia, how she died, and none of them came forward to the police until they were cornered with evidence anyway, so it's not like they did the right thing. During the time this case was investigated, due to the body being so badly decomposed, they couldn't figure out a cause for Tia's death. But there is a super recent update on this case, actually just a couple weeks ago in June 2021, where Rick finally revealed how Tia was killed. He said that the night that the family meeting took place, Tia packed a bag, stormed off down the driveway, and he tried to get her to come back inside. He put his arms around her waist and she began struggling and screaming, duh. And to get her to stop doing this, he put his hand over her mouth and he believes that he accidentally suffocated her this way. Now, we actually don't know if this is the truth because Rick in the past has stated that he has no recollection of that night. In 2017, Josh was sentenced to 15 months in jail and Julene was sentenced to 18 months in jail, and both were charged with perjury and attempting to pervert the course of justice. Josh served 3 months of his sentence and Julene served 2/3 of her sentence. Oh my god, I'm so bad at math. In September 2017, Trent was sentenced to 4 years in jail and charged with 2 counts of perjury, attempting to pervert the course of justice, and incest. Trent was released in January 2018 due to time served already, and in total he only served 16 months in jail. Trent apparently spent most of his time in solitary confinement because he literally got his ass beat in prison. Also, following Trent's release from prison, in 2019, it was alleged that Trent was using the dating app Tinder, and there was this big protest on this crime watch group in Brisbane on Facebook. There were all these women warning other women on the app, like showing photos of Trent and saying, this is what he was accused of, this is what he's been part of, and here he is trying to get girls on Tinder. This guy, what a piece of work. He must really think he is very special, thinking that girls are going to want to date him. Like, I get he had been in jail, but he was literally only in jail for 16 months. And he was out here trying to, just get back in the dating scene. The privilege that Trent must feel doing something like that. Like, I'm just a young guy trying to live my best life. But again, the fact that his father decided to take responsibility for his actions. He was 18. He knew that sleeping with Tiahleigh was completely wrong. She was literally just a child. She was only 12. She was a child. And the fact that his family covered it up for him and helped him, and if it's true that Julene actually knew about this, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have kept this to herself. I'm pretty sure that she would have discussed this with Rick. And the fact that there's a chance that they both knew about this and let it happen and didn't reprimand Trent just goes to show the privilege that Trent felt that, don't worry, I can do whatever I want and it will be handled. In May 2018, Rick pleaded guilty and got sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 20 years for murder and interfering with a corpse. His wife, Julene, still visits him in prison to this day every single week. What a lady. So that is the tragic case of Tiahleigh Palmer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you guys heard of this case before? I haven't seen much coverage of this case, but it's definitely one that I've been following since 2015, and it's definitely a sad one. I really enjoyed making this video. I'm still super nervous. I feel like my voice is shaky and I don't even know what makeup look I did. I just did something. But if you guys enjoy these true crime videos, let me know some case suggestions down in the comments below. And I will see you in my next video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Besitos. Mwah. Bye.